Welcome back to Rumi Gold, where quiet mastery begins. What if your busyness was never a measure of your worth? What if your effort sometimes worked against you? What if the leaks in your energy cost you far more than you notice? What if wealth didn't care how frantic you were, only how quietly you could hold it? What if you are working harder than you need to because you've never been shown the subtle ways life drips your fortune away? Today we explore energy leaks, not as a tactic, but as a truth. I want you to sit with this. When was the last time you finished a week of work, looked at your balance, and thought, where did it all go? You didn't spend on anything wild. Maybe you were even careful, but something didn't add up. You poured yourself into projects, put out 1,000 small fires, maybe even answered messages late at night. But the account stays the same. The tiredness deepens. The reward never quite lands. Let that breathe. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing defective about your ambition. But you already feel it. Some days, the more you run, the more you lose. Not just money, but energy, presence, clarity. It's like trying to fill a bucket punctured with tiny holes. It looks full for a moment, but wait. Drop by drop, what you've gathered seeps away. You don't see it, but you feel it. In your tension, in your scattered attention, in the way weekends never feel long enough. I remember a time, years back, when I walked through weeks like these, chasing perfection in every detail, micromanaging calls, answering emails at midnight, as if one more reply meant more money in the morning. But the reward never matched the effort. I watched friends work half as hard, earning twice as much, not because they were smarter, but because they held their energy differently. Where are your leaks? In overthinking the answer before you act. In the conversations you leave open past their time. In saying yes to requests that drain more than they refill. There is a cost to every unseen hole, and an even greater cost in believing more movement will solve what containment cannot. Let that land. You don't have to run faster. You don't have to grip tighter. Sometimes it's the seal, not the hustle. That's the discipline. Stay with me. This isn't about perfection. It's about sealing the cracks you never noticed. We've been told that hard work is what builds wealth. That if you just stay in motion, keep your head down, keep saying yes, you'll end up at the top of the mountain with your hands full. But in silence, most men know that adding more to a leaking bucket doesn't fix the leak. It just keeps you busy filling and tired. Here's what I see. We say yes when our spirit is whispering no. It sounds small, but every false yes is like handing out a copy of your house key. One yes at a time, your sanctuary fills with noise. Not just people, but energy that isn't yours. Eventually you can't find your own voice in your own home. The house of you, filled with everyone else's will. Undercharging is another leak. It's like selling water from your own well at a price that barely covers the bucket, not the water. You tell yourself it's good karma, but the world learns your price from how you set the boundary. Even a deep well runs dry if it's always free, and what was meant to be sustaining becomes exhaust. Generosity that empties your own reserves becomes self-erosion, not virtue. There's another pattern, packing your days full, as if the more you carry, the more you matter. That's like stacking bricks all day, believing a taller pile is proof you belong. But without time to step back and see what you're actually building, you end up with a wall, not a home. You become busy for busy's sake. When white space disappears, so does your vision. Let that echo. Think about how we wear exhaustion like a medal, walking around like a boxer in the 12th round, proud of every bruise. But a tired fighter is easy to knock out. You can defend your boundary. You even see where it's been moved. Chronic fatigue isn't proof of worth. It's a drain that leaves your mind foggy, your spirit dull, your energy scattered across unfinished plans. Energy leaks aren't always loud. Approval seeking that's trying to patch your roof with paper. Blurred boundaries are like planting a garden with no fence. Anyone can step in, trample the soil, pick the fruit. You end up wondering why nothing grows strong. None of these are moral failings. They're not spiritual defects. They're the silent thieves. Becoming aware isn't a defeat. It's the exact opposite. The moment you name the leak, the repair begins. Quietly, you reclaim the energy you once scattered. This isn't about being right. You already know this. What if you never needed someone else's nod before you named your own price? What if value wasn't something you had to beg for? What if every agreement is just an echo of how much you own your own work? Pause for a moment. Ask yourself, where does your need to feel chosen get in the way of telling the truth with your price? Most of us learn this as kids. Smile when you hand them your drawing. Wait for a grown-up to clap. Don't ask for too much. Don't risk being told that's too expensive. That pattern, buried deep, guides your hand even now. When you send an invoice, or set your rate, or simply ask to be compensated in full, you shape your worth to fit the room. You become smaller, so no one feels threatened. You make your offer cheap, so no one can say you're too much. It's a quiet, patient lick approval seeking, disguised as generosity. But it costs more than money. You trade command for comfort. You trade honesty for applause. Imagine a craftsman shaping a wooden bolivary, cut slow, every layer sanded until it shines. If a neighbor admires it and says, "I'd pay $20, but the truth is, the bowl took a week to make and is worth $200, most would nod and say, "Okay, sure," just to keep things easy. In that moment, you're selling discomfort relief, not a bowl. You're pricing your silence, not your skills. Let that land. Or picture a small orchard, heavy with fruitapables, shining red in the morning light. You've tended those trees for years, battled drought and pests, nurtured the soil by hand. But when the buyers come, you drop your price out of fear. You're worried they'll walk away. You'd rather lose the harvest for pennies than risk rejection. All that sunlight, all that rain, all those seasons shrink to the size of someone else's comfort. That's what approval seeking does. It keeps you thirsty, even surrounded by your own harvest. It's almost invisible. This slow erosion of self-respect. An aligned man names his price truthfully, not to impress, not to please, but because truth is the only stable currency. Try this before you speak the number. Pause, breathe, ask, if I trusted my worth, what would I say? Then say it without apology, without drama, just clear and warm. That's the discipline. There's a cost to letting the edges blur. Most of us think we're being generous when we answer every message, every late-night email, every text with urgent in the subject line. But generosity without edges, it leaks. You start to lose yourself, drip by drip. You probably know that feeling. A week that turns into a storm of meetings, favors, requests. Nothing feels essential, but everything gets your attention. You're busy, but nothing sinks deep. Not one thing gets the full strength of your undivided focus. It's easy to convince yourself this is just the way things are, that the open calendar, the endless access, the just let me know if you need anything posture is what decent people do, but you already know. The river without banks spreads thin. It dries out, quietly, while you're still trying to be everywhere at once. Busyness is how scarcity hides. Scarcity of energy, scarcity of vision. The more you chase every ping, every invite, every project, the emptier it gets. The importance isn't in the noise, it's in the choice. There's nothing to prove. Here's something most men miss. Boundaries aren't about pushing life away. Boundaries are choosing what comes close and what must wait. You don't have to shut every door. You just need to know which ones truly open you up. I saw it with Marcus, a freelance web designer. Used to say yes to every job, every tweak, every late-night request. He thought being busy meant being successful. Then he tried one change. Each morning, before opening his inbox, he turned down one thing that felt heavy, not aligned. In that space, he landed the one client he'd been circling for months. Less noise, more gain. It doesn't have to be dramatic to be true. That's the discipline. What if the highest yield comes when you stop reaching and start receiving? What if your edge isn't sharpened by more effort, but by less noise? What if holding still is the discipline the world has no patience for? And that's why it's rare wealth. What if rest isn't a reward for finishing, but the ground everything grows from? Let that land. Look at your days. Not just the work or the grind. Look at the spaces between. Most men miss this. They never question the code that says if you're not running, you're not winning. They treat silence like a penalty. They fill every pocket of time with movement, with screens, with something to prove. You already know this. The man who won't rest. Eventually, the world makes him stop. Sometimes it's a health wake-up. Sometimes it's money leaking in all the places he can't see. Sometimes he just feels thinner, stretched out, not dangerous anymore, just depleted. That's the cost of skipping stillness. There's nothing secret here, just like a field in winter. There's no harvest. There's no trying to force fruit from frozen ground. Every farmer knows if you skip the season of rest, the soil never deepens, the roots get shallow, and someday the drought comes. Most men think drought means no rain, but sometimes it means no rest. Even the orchard knows. A tree picked too soon, too often, gives less sweet. In the long run, the soil tells the truth. Nothing grows forever. The breaks in the cycle are the strength. That's the discipline. So you want more. Not just money, but the clear capacity to hold what comes. Start with 5 minutes. Not asking, not fixing. Just the pure discipline of sitting down, hands empty, breath even. Try. I allow myself to hold more than I chase. Let that echo, you might notice. It's not so much about getting more. It's about becoming the kind of man rest can come home to. Money doesn't land in exhaustion. It comes where there's room left to notice, to respond, to choose wisely. You already know this, but sometimes you need to remember. That's clarity. That's being ready for real wealth to find you. It doesn't have to be dramatic to be true. You've made it to the end, so just breathe where you are. If you listened closely, you know what really drains a man isn't what he spends, but what he keeps trying to prove. Approval, busyness, ignoring rest. Each one is like a hairline crack in stone. Hard to see from the outside, but over time, nothing holds. That's energy leaking out. not just time. It's silent, but every day, a little more escapes. Imagine a vault that's never locked. Even the greatest riches vanish if the door is always open. Your boundaries, your rest, your quiet strength, that's the lock. When you protect it, what's yours stays. When you stop trading truth for approval, your presence sharpens. You become the place where value meets respect. Clients, friends, even strangers, they just feel it. You don't have to advertise. Quiet depth can't be faked. It's felt. Glorifying busyness is a way to avoid the quiet, but depth doesn't happen in noise. Every yes you give away steals space from the work that builds legacy. Sometimes the most powerful answer is silence. Sometimes it's walking away before you're drained. There's power in letting less in and holding more back. Wealth is less about filling up, more about plugging leaks nobody else sees. That's the discipline. So, tonight, before you move to the next thing, ask, where am I draining before I receive? Answer with stone-level honesty. Even a gentle shift will change your week. Let these vows settle in. I protect my energy before I protect my calendar. I protect my energy before I protect my calendar. I anchor my value by living it first. I anchor my value by living it first. I allow work to deepen before it multiplies. I allow work to deepen before it multiplies. I rest so I can receive without resistance. I rest so I can receive without resistance. I don't chase approval. I embody proof. I don't chase approval. I embody proof. I honor space as much as I honor action. I honor space as much as I honor action. My boundaries make my life heavier in meaning, lighter in noise. My boundaries make my life heavier in meaning, lighter in noise. I am the vault for my own abundance. I am the vault for my own abundance. I lead from clarity. I lead from clarity. I lead from clarity.